In 1949, Angela Ruiz Robles was a schoolteacher in Spain. Every day she watched her students lug stacks of heavy textbooks to school. This inspired her to create what was essentially the ancestor of modern-day e-books and e-readers. It was a way to carry much information in a very condensed form. In 1971, Michael Hart was a college student who had unlimited access to one of the rare Xerox machines connected to ARPANET. Inspired by the coming of July 4th, he decided to input the whole Declaration of Independence by hand and send it out to everyone over ARPANET, telling them that the file was available for download. This was the first e-book. By 1999, Dick Brass of Microsoft declared that e-books were the future of reading. He said, "We are embarking on a revolution that will change the world at least as much as Gutenberg did." He predicted that by 2018, 90% of all books sold would be e-books. Looking back along the historical chain as the empirical program of relativism does, we can see how these milestones have brought us to the place we are today. It would take far more time to thoroughly examine e-books using the social construction of technology. The history and sociological state of each era would have to be examined in full to completely understand each sector of the society's viewpoint towards the emerging technology. But this is what I do know about why e-books have emerged. Firstly, as a society, we need information, and not only information that is bite-sized, but also larger information. We need information not only in the form of numbers and algorithms, which is what computers were first primarily used for, but also the conveyal of ideas and emotions. We need information that teach new things, such as textbooks. We need information that is instructions for activities. We also want entertainment. And so, lots of information can be conveyed quickly and easily through the web, but in a downloadable form. And not only lots of information, but also cheap and often free. And not only lots of information, but free, but it's very easy to access. Ebooks are a way to get what information we already needed, but in a quicker, easier, downloadable form. When Michael Hart originally sent out the Declaration of Independence, only 6 people chose to download. He had a very limited audience to begin with, only those that were connected to ARPANET, which was primarily universities. And among his limited audience, he had a very limited success rate of those who chose to download, only 6 people. For those, this idea of ebooks was a revolutionary idea of how to use computers. Now, modern society is moving toward more, cheaper, and easier. Things are also all moving toward being integrated on the web. It's no longer just the techies. It's a huge audience and a huge success rate. Now, in my field of graphic design, the print world of designing books has been extremely changed by the presence of the internet and ebooks and e-readers. Some of the problems are that ebooks are often a cheap, home-done job. They just don't look very good. Secondly, there's a limited layout. What you can do in the print world with physical things, you can't do with an ebook. Thirdly, there's a non-traditional cover design. You're so limited when it's only two-dimensional. Also, the text must be adjusted to be used on e-readers. This is often thicker strokes or thinner depending on the font, a simpler letter form so that it can be displayed in a raster through pixels. And there also often needs to be greater leading between the lines. Fifthly, the color profile is completely different. Instead of the addictive colors of the print world, we're using subtractive colors of the screen. And because of that, there's less available colors. Also, the images have to be in the correct file format. So when we zoom in on them on our e-devices. They don't get all blurry and rasterized. And lastly, there's just less need and desire for traditional books because of the presence of e-readers. So the primary issues out of all these problems is the biggest thing being the cheaply made issue. All those issues that problems all contribute towards a feeling that many people have started viewing ebooks as cheap alternatives to true literature. Since many are self-published and unedited, this really adds to this. In fact, the executive editor of CNET, David Carnoy, said, "Because the barrier to entry is so low, the majority of self-published books are pretty bad. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say less than 5% are decent, and less than 1% are really good." That's extremely a small section, and I think this is the greatest conflict. However, many do view self-published works as potential treasures. In fact, Harry Potter, 50 Shades of Grey, and The Martian were all originally self-published books, and we know how successful those have been. So first issue, they're cheaply made in general. Secondly, even if books are well written and they're valid literature, socially the biggest detriment to ebook publishing is the fact that 40% of print books purchased are purchased to be gifts. And you just can't give an ebook as a gift the same way that you can give a physical book as a gift. It's just not the same. So this is an issue that impacts everyone who values reading. If you don't value reading or giving away books, or if you don't know how to use the technology, it's not going to impact you. But that's still a huge sector of society who is going to be impacted. And as we move toward the one web, as Kevin Kelly talked about in his next 5,000 Days of the Web presentation, this is the biggest issue. If all information becomes connected over the web, and ebooks definitely tend toward this trend, the need that humans have to give and receive gifts will be severely mutilated. So, one possible solution for the cheap quality problem, the idea that people have that ebooks are a cheaper alternative, is perhaps having an international system or authority that regulates the quality of ebooks. Authors could pay a small fee to get their books assessed and be approved. We could also have different levels of status based on visual formatting, good writing, and content validity. I've read a lot of ebooks that were supposed to be teaching you things, and their information was completely unsourced and very, very unprofessionally done. So another thing we can do is raise awareness about good ebooks. Since we're solving this cheap quality idea that people have, we could promote high quality ebooks such as The Martian, which was a New York Times bestseller. We could also promote e-readers. We could have promos of free downloads of books. We could also offer trial periods of e-readers. I know that's been an issue for me. I don't know if I'd really use an e-reader, so I don't really want to invest the money in buying that piece of technology. We could also increase the built-in features of ebooks and e-readers to make them valuable in their own right, such as a dictionary or an encyclopedia, additional content or information that adds to the book, also animations and images would be a different thing to do. Now, as far as the gift problem, one possible solution is we could gift an e-reader pre-filled with books. That's one way to do it. We could also try doing physical gift cards, so then it could be given as a gift but have a download code for a very specific book, and then you could still be giving that book to this person. The only problem with that is that it requires more effort on the receiver of the gift, so then they have to go put in the code and download the book. So maybe there's a way we could build in that technology into the e-reader itself, so we could either send the book as a gift or maybe give the gift card and then they could scan it. I don't know, but there's definitely ways around this issue. In the end, there's definitely a balance we must strike. Our behavior has and it will change toward reading because of the availability of ebooks and the presence of e-readers. But the problems of desiring a physical article to hold for oneself, and even more so to give away, remains. It cannot be perfectly solved. That is always going to last. So physical books, I don't believe will ever die. There's a beauty to a physical object in 3D design that is never going to be the same in ebooks. But ebooks definitely are going to continue to gain more traction than ever. So it's up to us to find that right balance and to handle this to the best of our ability.